Scout salute. Color guard, advance. Color guard, cross the colors. Color guard, place the colors. Please. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Thank you for being here for the presentation of the colors. We are Troop 432, the first troop for girls in Roswell.
Ladies, I would like it if you would all come forward to the podium and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your troop.
Hi, I'm Madison Birch.
If you'll talk into the microphone, please.
Hi, I'm Madison Birch.
The other way.
Hi, I'm Madison Birch.
And I'm Sarah Butler.
I'm Veronica Rourke.
I'm Evan Erickson. We're the first troop, I'm pretty sure, in Roswell to support girls. Going and active. Stars in hand.
We all got our first rank, and we are soon to be getting our next rank.
Thank you, ladies. I would now like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome to the March 11th Mayor and Council meeting. The next item that we've got on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Next on the mayor's report is a presentation recognizing the history of women in the Roswell Police Department. And I would appreciate if the chief would come forward. Also, Councilmember Wilsey, would you like to introduce this?
Sure. We're very excited on the month of International Women's Day to recognize the women in blue who serve the city of Roswell. We've got a very long history of having women in our police force, and just want to take this time to salute and thank you all for all that you do, and tell us a little bit more about the history of women on the force.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. We have a brief presentation. Sergeant Brittany Rogers will be providing a brief presentation on behalf of the women in law enforcement of the Roswell Police Department. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On September 20th, 1978, the Atlanta Journal published an article which proclaimed, "Chances are you might be stopped in Roswell by a lady cop." In 1978, the Roswell Police Department employed 4 female police officers for positions on the road and in community relations. Joanne Rowland, Pat Meadow, Judy Hollybee, and Cynthia Ringo were a sufficient novelty to warrant an article in the Atlanta newspaper. In case blazing new territory was not enough of a challenge, the original female officers set out to excel in their job performance. Joanne Rowland, later known as Major Kroll, was the first Roswell police officer to ever finish at the top of her academy class. Judy Hollybee was recognized nationally as an Outstanding Woman of America for 1979, and Pat Meadow was a published author. In the intervening 40 years, females within the Roswell Police Department have become an accepted group, filling nearly every position available. We have had road officers, detectives, SWAT snipers, community relations liaisons, and canine handlers. Even our public information officer, the most recognized face of the police department, belongs to a female. Just like the members of the original cast, the women of the Roswell Police Department continue to distinguish themselves, earning local and national recognition for their achievements. As time has passed, females within the police department have achieved every available rank within our structure, except for one. That all changed on December 31st, 2018, and on January 18th, 2019, when Helen Duncan was appointed the interim chief of the Roswell Police Department and Lenore Rivard was appointed as the deputy chief. Now, as we blaze into a new era, it only seems appropriate to look back into the past and say to Joanne Rowland, Pat Meadow, Julie Hollybee, and Cynthia Ringo, ladies, look at where we are now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for stepping up to protect us here in the city of Roswell, and we truly do appreciate what you do on a daily basis, so please know that.
Thank you.
The next item, this seems to be girls' night. The next item is a recognition of Lenore Bromberg, Deputy Director of Community Development, for being named the Georgia Society of Professional Engineers 2019 Engineer of the Year in Government. Ms. Wakefield.
Mayor and City Council, it's my pleasure to present a pretty great lady that's in the Community Development Department, and she has the hardware to prove it. I can't say enough about Lenore and the professionalism that she brings to our department. It's not always easy for planner types to communicate with engineers, but we all have a great relationship, and I think there's not a staff person in the department that can't say that she has added great value to the department and the processes that we deal with. It is my pleasure to present to you let me get the organization right, the Georgia Society of Professional Engineers 2019 Engineer of the Year in Government, Lenore Bromberg. And she also received a similar recognition at the latter part of last year. So I want to say congratulations, Lenore. We're delighted that you work for the city of Roswell, and I'm doubly delighted that you work in the Community Development Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenore. We would like to get a picture with you as well, so don't go anywhere. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation in support of Americorps Week 2019, March 10th through the 16th. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American Charter And throughout our history, citizens have stepped up to meet our challenges by volunteering in their communities. Whereas Americorps provides opportunities for nearly 75,000 Americans to serve their country through an intensive commitment to service at nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based groups all across the country. And whereas Americorps enriches the lives of its members, building habits that create and engage citizens who are active participants in civic matters affecting their communities long after their service terms are completed. And whereas in Georgia between 2018 and 2019, more than 1,000 Americorps members of various ages and backgrounds helped to meet local needs by tutoring or mentoring children and youth, supporting veterans and military families, assisting with health and economic development initiatives, responding to disasters, and addressing the environment. And whereas, in exchange for their service, Americorps members develop valuable work skills, earn money for continuing education, and strengthen the lives of their families, communities, and the state of Georgia as a whole. And whereas, since Americorps was founded in 1994, more than 20,000 Americorps members in Georgia have served approximately 30 million hours and qualified for Siegel Americorps Education Awards, totaling more than $67.6 million. And whereas the City of Roswell, collaborating with nonprofit partners, Star House Foundation, and the Ed Isaacson Alpharetta YMCA, was the first city in North Fulton to receive Americorps funding to lay the groundwork for an Americorps project supporting the education of residents. And whereas on September 2019, the nation will mark the 25th anniversary of Americorps, saluting the more than 1 million Americans who have taken the pledge to get things done for America. And whereas Americorps Week is an opportunity to recognize the dedication and commitment of the more than 1 million Americans who have chosen to serve their country through Americorps and their community partners to encourage more Americans to follow in their footsteps. Now, therefore, I, Lori Henry, the mayor of the city of Roswell, do hereby proclaim March 10th through the 16th of 2019 as Americorps Week in Roswell and urge citizens to thank Americorps members and alumni for their service and to find their own ways to give back to their communities. Let's give these folks a round of applause. Now, I believe we've got Ms. Boynton here that is willing to come forward and speak. Also, if you've got Americorps members here, we would love to have them come forward.
Not actual Americorps members, but our nonprofit partners are here this evening.
Terrific.
Good evening, Mayor Henry and council members. I'm Megan Boynton. I work in the Grants Division, and I'm pleased to be here this evening in support of Americorps Week 2019, which is March 10th through the 16th. Often described as the domestic Peace Corps, Americorps presents a wonderful opportunity for individuals to engage in national service at the local level. Americorps is a program of the larger Corporation for National and Community Service and is overseen in Georgia by the Georgia Commission of Service and Volunteerism. While Linda Thompson, the director of the Georgia Commission, could not be here this evening, she extends her thanks for your support of Americorps and this proclamation of Americorps Week. Joining us for the reading of the proclamation this evening are special guests from our nonprofit partners, Star House Foundation and the Ed Isaacson Alpharetta YMCA, who have been instrumental in helping to bring Americorps to Roswell to benefit the youth of our community. Joining us are Stephanie Christensen, Executive Director of Star House, Dan LaStella, Board Chair, Star House Foundation, Scott Dahl, the Executive Director at the Ed Isaacson YMCA in Alpharetta and Group VP YMCA of Metro Atlanta, and Hans Appen, Board Chair for the Ed Isaacson Alpharetta YMCA. With thanks for their continued engagement and attendance this evening, and to you for the reading of the proclamation this evening. Thank you.
And I would love to have you all come forward, and we would love to have a picture with you if that's possible. Another feel-good story. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Fix a Leak Week. Now, does anyone want to take bets on whether or not I get through with Fix a Leak Week? Whereas the average household leaks can account for nearly 10,000 gallons of water wasted every year, and 10% of those homes have leaks that waste 90 gallons or more per day. And whereas common types of leaks found in the home are worn toilet flappers, dripping faucets, and other leaking valves, these types of leaks are often easy to fix, requiring only a few tools and hardware that can pay for themselves in water savings. Fixing costly, easily corrected household water leaks can save homeowners about 10% on their water bills. And whereas Watersense is a partnership program sponsored by the United States Environmental Protection Agency to protect the future of our nation's water supply by promoting and enhancing the market for water-efficient products and services. The week of March 28th through the 24th of 2018 marks the 11th annual United States Environmental Protection Agency's Watersense Fix a Leak Week program, a time to remind Americans to check their household fixtures and irrigation systems for leaks. And whereas the Roswell Water Utility offers a free online program called Aquahawk that enables customers of the Roswell water system to receive notification if their water consumption indicates a leak or an abnormal usage, resulting in water and financial savings. And whereas well-maintained homes and businesses preserve water usage, thereby promoting the high quality of life in our community. Now, therefore, I, Lori Henry, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim the week of March 18th through the 24th, 2019 at Fix a Leak Week in the City of Roswell, and urge all citizens and businesses to help eliminate wasteful water use by repairing leaks and becoming more aware of the need to use water efficiency. Mr. Skalski.
I just want to add a couple of points very briefly. One, water conservation is a big deal in Georgia. It has been for decades due to the tri-state water wars. And Roswell has a very tight system, and we should be very proud of that. The Aquahawk system that you mentioned is outstanding, and it helps us and our customers identify leaks and save them money. And just to your point, the statewide water contractor who provides leak services throughout the state of Georgia made the comment that it was a pleasure to work with a system that took such a high priority on leak prevention and maintenance. In our entire system that's served by Roswell Water, they found 4 leaks in half of our system. They surveyed the other half and found about another half a dozen. That's incredibly low, and it's an incredibly tight system, and we really appreciate the work the crew does on that front. And to the point that it's easy to fix your leaks, I was plumbing yesterday, it worked, and my wife is thrilled. So it can be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Skalski. I will say this, my husband is not handy around the house, but he can fix leaks, so It's always a good thing. The next item on the agenda is the recognition of the Sun Valley Project winning the American Council of Engineering Companies of Georgia, the ACEC-GA Engineering Excellence Honor Award and the People's Choice Award. Gentlemen, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm really pleased to make this announcement today about our Sun Valley 1 project for winning yet another award. The Sun Valley 1 project completed construction about 12 months ago. It built a connector complete street with bike lanes, trail, and a sidewalk to join two dead-end streets to connect Mansell Road to Highway 9. The project also created a regional detention facility, which has been used by at least one business in the area. As intended, the project has helped reducing congestion at the intersection of State Road 9 and Mansell Road, State Road 9 and Holcomb Bridge Road, and in general, helped to direct more traffic to the Mansell interchange versus Georgia 400 interchange with Holcomb Bridge Road. The project was supported by the businesses in the area like GM Innovation Center and the Honda Carland from the very beginning. However, the project did face some residents' opposition during the concept and design phases. The main reason for the opposition was the fear of conversion of a dead-end street into a through street. Staff has not heard any issues since the project has opened, and the roadway functions pretty well with a small roundabout to serve the two residential communities on the corridor. Construction of Sun Valley 1 project also led to partnership with the North Fulton CID to begin preliminary design work on the old Alice extension, which we used to call Sun Valley 2 project. It is also a new connection to Old Roswell Road via another dead-end street, Old Alice Road. In September 2018, the Sun Valley 1 project won the American Society of Civil Engineers Small Project of the Year Award. This category considered projects under $5 million in cost. And now recently, the project won the Engineering Excellence Honor Award from the American Council of Engineering Companies. And it got better for us at the ceremony when the People's Choice Award that gets voted for at the event by all attendees was also awarded to the Sun Valley 1 project. So I really appreciate the team that made it happen, the planning, design, and construction staff at Roswell DOT, our design consultant, Tommy Crochet from VHB, who is here tonight with his award, and the contractor who constructed the project, and of course the mayor and city council for their continued support for such mobility and connectivity enhancement projects in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we would love to have a picture with you in the award.
Thank you so much.
We'd love to celebrate our transportation department. And the last item on the mayor's report is the consideration of an approval for a resolution regarding Big Creek Park. And I will go ahead and read the whereases. Whereas the City of Roswell is a Georgia municipal corporation, and whereas the mayor and council are the governing authority of the City of Roswell, Georgia, and whereas the mayor and council have determined that Big Creek Park in its current configuration and use is a valuable asset to the citizens of Roswell and surrounding communities. And whereas the city does not currently have funds specifically allocated and/or plans to develop the Big Creek Park, and whereas the mayor and council have determined that a publicly vetted master plan is desired before any development should occur at Big Creek Park, and whereas the mayor and council have determined that a master plan is not required to preserve and protect what citizens of Roswell and surrounding areas currently enjoy at Big Creek Park, and whereas the mayor and council wish to maintain and preserve Big Creek Park in its current state, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, that the city of Roswell does hereby resolve to preserve and maintain Big Creek Park and trails in its current state, and to bring a new master plan through the public process before any alterations to the park or trails are approved. Now, I would like to say this going into this open hearing tonight. This did not go through our process within the city of Roswell. For those of you that know, we have a Recreation Commission. This did not go through them, and it was not approved or commented on by them to bring it forward. And if I could, I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Leatherman, but if you wouldn't mind coming forward and telling us what the proper procedure is in a situation like this, and also how the Rec Commission considers master plans, input from citizens, et cetera. So if you wouldn't mind giving us some information on that, I'd appreciate it.
So, thank you. Just a couple of quick comments on those questions. Originally, when the tennis courts were proposed out at Big Creek Park, the mayor and council requested that the Recreation Commission review our policies and procedures as it relates to adopting master plans, both our 5-year strategic plan as well as our individual park master plans. As part of the public town hall meeting on October 4, the department displayed this flow chart. It was not at that time part of an adopted process at the Recreation Commission level, but it is our general process that we use in order to review park-specific master plans. And it includes initially a 5-year evaluation, a staff recommendation along with our Recreation Commission for a budget item to be reviewed and approved by council, and then we go through a public vetting process that's described there in the flow chart. In September and October, the Recreation Commission reviewed the policies specific around vetting park master plans and adopted not only a policy around that, but also included this flow chart as part of that policy that creates the process for those adoptions. That was approved in October, and a memo that I sent to Mayor and Council reiterated that approval on and around October 29, 2018. I think I captured most of the questions there. Anything else that I left out?
No, thank you very much. I would highly recommend to this council that we consider deferring this so it can go through the process of the Rec Commission. I certainly do appreciate their comments and their concerns, and they bring a lot to the table. They are master planning all of our parks. This council is not charged with doing that, but they're looking at the big picture on what needs to be done in the city of Roswell and with our parks. So, as I said, I would highly recommend that we defer this and send this through the Rec Commission. Councilmember Judy.
Yes, based on the mayor's and Mr. Leatherman's recommendation, I motion to defer this back to the Rec Commission for further discussion.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. A motion by Councilmember Judy, a second by Councilmember Grower. I'm going to, at this time, take comments from the council, and then I will open it up to the public after that. So, yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, I'm proposing this resolution, and because, following Mayor Lori Henry's well-attended town hall on October 4th meeting, as well what it was discussed during the 2 mayor and council committee meetings regarding Big Creek Park and its importance to the city of Roswell. I'm pleased to introduce today a resolution to formalize our commitment to Big Creek Park. Following these important meetings, the Roswell community and city leaders have come together in a productive and respectful way to preserve and maintain Big Creek Park and trails in their current state. We recognize that Big Creek Park is a treasure to our community. So I initiate this resolution, and I'm pleased that the mayor put on the mayor agenda for discussion and vote. And I have different motion that the one is on the floor. Obviously my motion is to approve since I'm bringing forward this resolution. So that is what I have to say, and then I would like to hear from the community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Zapata. Councilmember Grower.
My seconding of that motion tonight has nothing to do with whether or not I support this resolution. I support a process. If we were to approve this resolution tonight, it would basically be to disregard the relevance of the Recommission, and that's not something I'm willing to do. So I want to apologize to those that have come out here tonight in hopes of an affirmative vote on this resolution. It's just not ready for council to review, in my opinion. I'd love to see it go to the Rec Commission. I'd love to see it then come back to us in some form where we can discuss it. But the process has been not followed here tonight, and that's why I can't support moving it forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Grower. Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to call out 2 items within this resolution. So the first one is the city does not currently have funds specifically allocated and/or plans to develop Big Creek Park. This is something that is city related, and I do feel that is a statement that should be made by the mayor and council. I do not believe it's for the planning commission to decide if we do or do not have funds specifically allocated there. So I'm going to call out that, and then separately I want to call out and to bring a new master plan through the public process before any alterations to the park or trails are approved. If this resolution tonight were requesting and trying to approve a master plan, I would not support it. That is something that needs to go through the full process with the Park and Rec Commission, as well as most importantly through the community. But I think this is a very reasonable resolution to pass tonight, and the reason being is I feel the city has a black eye from just a history standpoint of what occurred regarding Big Creek. I sincerely believe that no one on this mayor and council would have fully moved forward the way that initial resolution had looked. I believe all 7 members up here would have put the brakes on when they saw some of those glaring issues, and there would have been true public involvement. But at the same time, the community doesn't know that, nor should the community believe that. So because of that history, I think it is fair to just really extend what I guess I'll call an olive branch here, and just show, you know what, there was a mess up in how that discussion had occurred a while back, making it look like the park would be completely changed without resident input. And I think this is a reasonable resolution, just to show that without a doubt, before any alterations to the park or trails are approved, that there'll be the right process. So for that reason, I will not support a deferral tonight, and I will support this resolution.
Additional comments from council? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open this up to the public. I would also like to remind you that if this is deferred, that you will be able to make comments at the Rec Commission meeting as well as when it comes back to this council. So there are many, many opportunities for you to be involved and your voice is heard. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? Yes, sir. And also, I ask you all to fill out comment cards, please, and leave them up at the podium when you come up. And in addition to that, identify yourselves.
Hi, I'm Sean Bruner, the owner of Fresh Bikes Service in Roswell, Georgia. And I was in attendance at the meeting on December 5th when Councilman Grower, Councilman Tizer, and I believe Councilman Judy all stated that we don't need to spend millions of dollars on a master plan to be redrawn to preserve and protect the park. And those were y'all's words. Now we are here tonight for y'all to put your words into writing, excuse me. Like, it's not too much to ask this day of our leadership that when you make a public statement in your park and rec meeting that you can preserve and protect the park. We don't need to spend another $15,000 or $1 million on a plan from Clemson University that actually stated that people want more trails and greenway paths, and y'all keep using that as initiatives to put more trails and bike paths on roads all over Roswell, but you ignore the fact that adults deserve parks and rec department activities and infrastructure as well, be that mountain bike trails or whatever, whether you understand that. Like, we drive economics into this community. Adults deserve parks and recs just as much as our children do, and we carry the bulk of the tax burden that y'all use to distribute within our community. Now, I ask you to use your words and to stand by them. Be a man of action and women of action, and when you stand up in front of your community and you say you're going to do something, do it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from clapping after each speaker. It leaves other speakers less time to talk. So, yes, sir, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You're correct. This is out of our usual order and process. However, referencing Councilman Palermo's comments, when the city chose to ignore the existing master plan for this property, which had gone through the public approval process to the Recreation Commission, to the council, and was adopted when you, Mayor Henry, and I, and former Councilman Orleans were all on the council, it didn't follow process, it didn't follow procedure, and as Council Member Palermo points out, undermined public trust. So I understand what you're saying about process, I really do, and there should be a process where the Recreation Commission has time to comment on master plan and that process and that procedure. What I feel like, and I didn't even know this was on the agenda until over the weekend somebody let me know, so I haven't had anything to do with it. My counsel to you, which you can take or leave, is because of where we've been over the last several months, is this seems to be a way to say to the public, we hear you, we know there was a mess up, it wasn't intended, but it happened, we didn't follow procedure. There was an existing document with public approval, with council approval, with Rec Commission approval. It was ignored. Don't know why. I guess it got lost in the annals of time. But this is a way of saying we recognize that, and we're not going to do anything. We're not going to get out of process again. And this is a way to say we hear you. We're going to go back to the process. We acknowledge it, and we're going back to the process, and to do it in a formal way. Looking at the resolution, it doesn't bind you to anything other than going back to the process. So I just would encourage you to consider it or reconsider the motion, the second, and the action that you're going to take as a way to reinforce public confidence following the late unpleasantness. And again, all it says, in my reading of, is we're going back to the way it should have been done and the way it will be done in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And what I would also like to point out, in my viewpoint, is two wrongs don't make a right, and there's never a good time to not follow process as opposed to a bad time to not follow process. So if we are committed in this city to following a process, and we have learned from our mistakes, we need to follow the process, not intermittently. Who would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Chris Rucker, and on behalf of the Big Creek Park Community Alliance, I would like to first of all say thank you for having this on the agenda. Second of all, I just want to thank all of the people that are sitting behind me that dug up a green shirt somewhere in their closet to continue to come and to support this park and to pour out their love for it and what it means for Roswell and what it means for our children and what it means for the community and everybody who comes and enjoys this park. So thank you so very much. I also want to specifically thank the members of the Alliance who continue to gather and to work and to figure out how we can get attention that this park will be preserved for posterity. We just feel that strongly about it. Marcelo, thank you so much for stepping outside what may look as being politically correct to support us, to care for us, and to show that you are engaged with your community. I just have great respect for you. Michael, I want to thank you so much for stepping as well. The thing that I'm pleased about tonight is that there's actual discussion on this park, that we're not being ignored, that there is something on the agenda, and I just really want to hope that we can continue more of these conversations. We came here tonight with a hope that we would be able to proceed together forward and that we would move in a positive manner together. And there isn't as much hope as I was hoping for. It just continues to be disappointing to me that there is so little interest by the city officials about this park and the great things that could be happening here with your support. And Jeff, I was really encouraged when you came as a new person here, and I was hoping you might be a fresh wind in the parks and recreation, and I still hope that today. So thank you again for this opportunity. Marcelo, thank you again for stepping up and being willing to take a chance on us, and thank you again for everybody who came to support us tonight. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes.
Talk about a blast from the past. So I'm Laura Cordell, Tyson Corners, 495 Tyson Corners. My neighborhood is adjacent to Big Creek. I think y'all showed a lot of pictures. The police department showed a lot of pictures. So taking upon that, Margaret Cash brought this newspaper article. You can see the date, 1994, and that's me in the middle. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. So if you think about 25 years ago, we had a small group of passionate people from Tyson Corners, David Tullison, Margaret Cash, and also Dale Nesbitt. There was a lot of us that just had the passion, and Ruth Kenyon had the idea of this land to propose it to the city to buy it. So you've heard me speak in the past at East Roswell Park about my passion. And this is why, because it goes back 25 years ago. And see where that is now and look at all the people enjoying it. So I just want to, again, history, a lot of us have been in Roswell a long time and we have worked hard to save this land. So you just have to understand where we come from when we speak to you, that it's our passion. And again, 25 years of my life, thinking about that, saving that land. So I was glad that Margaret Cash found that and was able to bring that, and I just wanted to show that to you. I also want to tell you about my feeling about trust on you guys right now, and I just don't have much trust for this whole thing. And it goes back to the Yellow Ball Project. I know you guys want to do everything right now, and that's fine. But what I hear and what I heard back in November from one of the city council members at Alive in Roswell is I said specifically to the city council person that we need to preserve this land as a passive park. The answer I got back, and again, this was November, after we all met in East Roswell Park, The council member said, well, what if we want to one day put a big pool in there? Okay, so should we trust you? If you're thinking about still developing it and tearing down the trees and putting a big pool in there? So that's my concern. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Mayor and Council, my name is Ken Lopez. I'm a Roswell resident, and you've all heard in several meetings that I've attended the passion that our community feels about this park. And you've seen people who aren't typically involved in politics coming and getting very, very involved in our community over this issue. And I think we've all learned a lot of things. I think there were some things that we'd all would have done differently on all sides. But I think one of the things that we saw in the very, very big meeting that was attended by so many people is that the people of your community that you represent feel very, very strongly about this park and the way that it's working right now. And I think that you have an opportunity to align yourselves with the community and this positive energy that is associated with this movement. And right now, I think there's a feeling that you're trying to maintain the negative energy that was associated with the thing that happened before that I think we'd all like to forget. I think that we all would like to do differently, and I think it's time to maybe shift away from that negative energy and figure out how we can all be on the same side here. And I don't see that really happening. In terms of process, I think that the resolution that Councilman Zapata put forward is actually defending the process rather than challenging the process. Because the process is about doing steps before you do a master plan instead of just getting right to the punchline of how that land's going to be used. And all this resolution is saying it's going to stay like it is until you do a new master plan. So the way that I read that document is that it is saying, let's go with the process. And so here's a chance for you to have a win without having anything change at all. You're essentially just saying, yes, the park's going to stay like it is till we do a new master plan. And when we do a new master plan, we're going to go with the process. And that's all this says. And I think that's exactly how Councilman Palermo summarized it. And so this is a chance for us all to take all this negative energy that has been dragging along for months and to turn it into something positive that the community supports, and it doesn't cost you anything. You're actually saying you support the process. And you're no longer saying, let's turn this into a us versus them situation. We're all on the same side here.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Janet Russell. I don't live near this park. I just have one brief comment. I learned a long time ago that trust is like a china teacup. If you drop the teacup and you break it into a lot of pieces, you might get Gorilla Glue and put it all back together, but you'll never trust that cup again to hold a cup of hot tea, not ever. And that's exactly what's happened in this city.
Thank you. Is there, yes, sir, please come forward.
My name is Luke Miles, just one of the riders and users of the park. I just wanted to second everything this gentleman said. I was thinking about it a lot as everybody was speaking and the two council members that stood up in defense of the park, and it kind of makes perfect sense when you think about the trust issue. I started riding at Big Creek Park actually before it was a park, and then it got shut down for a little while and became an actual park, which was very exciting, and then we started getting trails back, and then all of a sudden I remember the day when it was closed and bulldozers came in and took away half of the park to put in sidewalks and mosquito ponds, which was kind of unfortunate. But it opened up the park for other folks to be on the sidewalks instead of just us. So I had to look at it that way, like, hey, we're sharing the park, we're opening up to even more people. We lost a few trails, but we gained access for other folks, which was great, right? So now the park has even more attendees and more people are coming there, and that's great. So when you think about all the people that use the park now, there's so many more people than just us mountain bikers that were enjoying it, so it's opened up for all those folks. But when that happened, now that I hear you guys talking about it, the resolution as was discussed and presented by these two gentlemen, you know, like you said, you're just preserving it until the master plan is done. There's no point in going and doing that right now, spending that kind of money and that kind of stuff. It doesn't seem necessary to go backwards and do all that. We could just approve the resolution tonight. Everybody's comfortable. We feel good about the city of Roswell again, about you guys up there and how you feel about the things we say and what we find valuable in the community. You know, otherwise it just seems like you're buying time to do something else, like what almost happened before, where we kind of forgot to follow the procedure. But by shelving everything and just putting it aside for another 5 years or whatever it was, it just seems not, I don't know, that trust issue is there. It just seems like you're pushing things aside, and maybe we won't show up to the next meeting, or maybe we won't hear about the next meeting, because what would have happened if we didn't show up in force at the one meeting where the vote was going to be? We'd have tennis courts instead of trails. You know what I mean? So that trust issue is a glaring thing to me right now. So I just kind of wanted to say that, and say that I think these two gentlemen have the right idea. We could do a lot for the trust in the community with the council members and the mayor here. Feel really good about it. It doesn't really change anything. It just puts us back into the right process so that it'll never happen again and everything's safe between now and then. Otherwise, it just feels, I don't know, sketchy, if you will. Thank you.
Mr. Leatherman, when is the next Recommission meeting? And could this be on the agenda?
The next Recreation Commission meeting is the last Thursday of every month. I want to say it's either the 26th or the 27th. I don't have the date right off the top of my head. It is something that can be agendized. We have enough time for consideration of either a resolution or other recommendations at the Recreation Commission level. You know, as described in the process and the flow chart, the Recreation Commission and the budget process is the first place for this type of conversation, so that the council can consider not only the recommendations of my department, but other departments that we have coming to each budget and fiscal cycle. And we still have time for that coming into this next fiscal cycle for something like this to be considered, should the council want to do that, as well as have time to agendize something like this onto the commission agenda.
Leatherman. Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. What concerns me is
Please identify yourself.
My name is David Pierce. I'm a resident of Roswell. I live across from Big Creek Park. I'm a regular user. And what concerns me is I'm not exactly sure what in this resolution needs to go before the Recreation Department. Nothing in this resolution seems to skirt the process. Rather, this resolution employs us to utilize the process. I'm not really sure what you are disputing tonight. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kim Shaver, and I live in Willow Springs. Last November, we had a launch at the park for a little free library on the trail, on the Greenway in Roswell. 2 years in the making to get that project done that involved many people within the community. And I also, through parks, installed a meditation bench at that site. It's been a joy of my life. I frequent that park and have been a power user since we moved here the year it opened. Spent an inordinate amount of time there. So when this library became installed, I quickly learned it was going to require frequent trips there to maintain it. I haul books there every week in a cart. I do a lot of work in the community to promote it. And I wish I had, well, I shall start a book of the journal entries that are in that library. People saying how much they treasure the space. They love the park as it is. One woman recently wrote a whole page on how much it meant to her and how sad she was to leave it because it was a daily part of her routine. every encounter I have there, which is every time I'm there with my dogs and a cart of books, and people stop and drop books and pick books up and are quick to engage and rave about the space, talking about how unique it is. There's no place like it. And it's not just the locals. There are people, I met a gentleman who came from Noonan, Kennesaw, Sandy Springs over the weekend, because it's so special and unique. It is a place to unplug and lift out and not be, for those of us who want to just go and get quiet and not have the soccer courts or the soccer fields and the tennis courts, and it's just a treasured space. So I have a question, actually. I know a couple of you have been down there because you attended the launch. But have you, Mayor Henry, spent time in this park?
Ma'am, you can go ahead and address your question to this body as a whole, but I will not have you address individual people.
Okay. Well, can we do a show of hands to know if you guys have spent time?
No, we cannot do that.
Okay. Well, I would encourage you to, and engage with the people that are there so that you can see the community in action. Okay, thank you.
Well, and I would like to say for the public record, you can sit down, thank you. I'm not going to ask council to respond to this. I personally will respond. I have spent many, many, many hours in that park. My daughter lived next door for about 5 years. She has 2 huskies, and I can't even tell you how many times I've walked those huskies in the park. I've also run in that park. I've walked in the park. I have taken children to that park to enjoy our environmental campus there. And that was a huge part of saving the wetlands. And for those of you that know, there's a great deal of educational learning that can be done in this park. So yes, have been a frequent user of that park on a fairly regular basis. So like I said, I'm not going to ask council to respond to that, but the council will have another opportunity to speak. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Everett Wilkerson. I'm a resident here in Roswell. To the council, are there any other considerations for the area or the property other than the park and the trails at this time? Am I allowed to ask that question?
As soon as you sit down, I'll answer that question for you.
Okay, that was question number 1. And after that answer, could the council please direct Mr. Leatherman to describe the details of the process to the community tonight? I saw that you put a flow chart. I couldn't read it. I'm sure I could be instructed to go and do my research on my own, but while we have this as a community discussion tonight, if you could describe those details and, you know, if you could ask him to describe those details better so we can all understand what they are. And where should I leave my comment card?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you to the council.
Thank you. I will say this, Mr. Leatherman, well, let me let you take over. You're the expert.
In brief, and what I'll do is on our policy that has been adopted, as well as the supplemental information on our website, we have a parks planning section of our website, and we'll post a link onto our department's homepage for that park planning website so that people can get not only to the policy but also to the flow chart should you choose to look at it and want to review it. Essentially, the steps are evaluation of the 5-year master plan and the needs assessment, which is our current 2017 to 2021 needs assessment. A recommendation from the commission to prioritize certain master plans for individual park development, and then it goes through a budget recommendation process. If the council then approves that budget recommendation, then it goes through an extensive community input process and design process, and then it comes back to the Recreation Commission, back to a work session of the council, and then to the council at a meeting for your consideration and approval.
And Mr. Leatherman, are there any active plans for this park at this time?
No, the mayor and council have not authorized any budget expenditures as per our policy for master planning of that park facility, so there are no active projects at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Leatherman. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no hands, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and bring this back to council. Do we have additional comments from council? Councilmember Judy.
Mr. Leatherman, quick question. If this is deferred to Recommission as per the new policy adopted by you all, can this be considered as a resolution before a master plan is done on the park? So they send it back and say, hey, look, we recommend this resolution or a version thereof until a master plan is done.
That's not accounted for anywhere in our policy. I would make the assumption that we could make recommendations in advance of a master plan for the council's consideration. My recommendation to the Recreation Commission would be a version of this resolution, because as I see the resolution currently written, there's some conflicting statements in it with our process and with the adoption process of master plans. And so it would be a version, would be that recommendation that I would make to the commission.
So, Mr. Leatherman, appreciate that. So I thank you all for coming out and giving your opinion tonight and giving us some words of wisdom and et cetera. I really do. We take it to heart. And when somebody says us against them, as a native of Roswell, that hurts me. I mean, it's not us against them. There's processes here that I think has been adopted by our Rec Commission that we have to follow or should follow. And in this process, you know, instead of doing something just to have it done, I would like to do this right. And from my point of view, if we have the Rec Commission who approves memorandums of understanding, approves expenditures, approves policy and master plans at the park, all on board with what this body is doing through a resolution or a plan, then we have a much stronger piece of legislation that we can then lean on going forward that will last with this park. And believe me, I've had numerous conversations since we've gone through this process since our big meeting. And I mean, I can speak for myself, but there's nothing on the plate here, nor would I think the city or anybody sitting here is up for going and building something at Big Creek Park right now. My thing is, let's sit here and let's do this right. Let's send it back through the Rec Commission. We've heard we can put it back on the agenda. We can get some input. And as Mr. Leatherman said, he can make some recommendations. There can be some things to be done, and we can move this forward as quick as possible. I mean, for me, that's the reason I'm going to support the deferral tonight, to get it done right. And we can then lean on something much stronger than just doing it tonight just because we should do it.
Councilmember Wilsey.
Yes, I too agree with everybody here that Big Creek Park is a treasure and there are great things going on there. I have logged quite a few miles there myself, both on foot and on bike. There's the public art, the sculptures that have been put there as a part of Art Around Roswell, things like the little free library and all kinds of great activities and resources for folks. And it's a wonderful safe haven, just a gem in the woods there. One thing that did come up tonight, and those of you who have been involved in this for a long time, is the comprehensive, the master plan that was done on that park. I've done quite a bit of digging on that myself, and basically, you know, what we could find was, you know, a map and then a very small part of a larger master plan that was done by the city that kind of looked at all the parks. So if any of you are aware, please don't answer now, but if you could just let us know later if there's anything else available, you know, I would love to take a look at that. Again, I feel sure that we can all reach some agreement that is best for all the citizens. I would like to see it go back to the Recommission for review, because one thing's very important to know is they are the citizen group that oversees the park, provides oversight on behalf of the whole city. So I would like to give them a chance to weigh in on it, and I will also be supporting a deferral, but like I said, I do think we can get to a place that the whole city can be comfortable with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilsey. Councilmember Grower.
A couple things here. First, if this came back from the Rec Commission verbatim, I would support it, okay? I can't help but point out the irony in the statement that we're being asked to break a process to regain trust. That to me just doesn't seem to work. Passing a resolution specifically related to a park with zero input from the Rec Commission is inappropriate in any case. And the Rec Commission, to Councilmember Judy's point, the Rec Commission and the council need to be aligned for this to have any weight at all. So by going through the process, sending this to Rec Commission and getting something back that they agree with would be a good thing to do. That would be the way to get something that has some real teeth to it. If we pass this tonight, all it would do is create a divide between the council and the Rec Commission, because we didn't ask for their input before we passed a resolution. So I think for the future of the park, and by the way, I'm a mountain biker and I go there often, and it's a great place, and I highly support preserving it, but it needs to be done the right way. So that's all.
Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. So I guess what I'm curious about is if the Park Commission does not support this, does that mean that this council is just going to say, well, the Park Commission didn't support it? I feel there's aspects in here that are basic enough that this council should be able to look at and see it as black and white. Is this a principle that I support in, or do I not? At the end of the day, I think a couple different speakers had mentioned it, but trust is something that you earn. I don't feel this mayor and council earned it when this whole thing happened. As I mentioned, I strongly believe that this mayor and council, all 7 elected officials, would have put the brakes on, would have seen that there were issues with all of it. But at the same time, you have no reason to trust me when I say that. So therefore, what I am committed to tonight is to putting in writing that we are going to get back on track, that an error was made in that whole rollout and that discussion, and you have reasons to trust your city government again.
Councilmember Tizer.
Thank you, Mayor. It's Ms. Shaver. Is she still here? I had a chance to attend the ribbon cutting of her little library, and if you haven't been there, it's pretty awesome, and suggest you might try that. I also had the chance to attend the last Rec Commission meeting that the Rambo organization presented what they do, what they've done in the past, how much money they've put into the park, et cetera. And then I got a chance to hear the commentary from the Rec Commission after that presentation. They presented for almost 40 minutes. And I got to hear Director Leatherman's comments. And what I can tell you is that group of citizens who donate their time love our parks, and they love this park, to the point where it was very interesting to hear both Director Leatherman and the Commission looking at ways to potentially help put some money into the projects that we've not put money in before. And I'm waiting to see from Mr. Leatherman the budget that has money in there where the city can finally contribute to what goes on there, you know, what you all love in the park. I detected nothing in the conversation with the Rec Commission that would say they want to do something different with it. But I have to tell you that they are very proud of the work they do. They're very proud of the contributions they make. And I want them to see this first.
Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. Well. Interesting twist. I never saw this coming. I have to be honest. I didn't see this coming. I'm not surprised, but I didn't see it coming, I have to admit. Interesting political twist to this proposed resolution. Getting the excuse of the Recommission in the middle of the elected official leadership and the community. You know, like one of our presidents said, the ball stopped in my desk. Okay, I'm the elected official. I'm representing you, all of you. So I'm not using any excuse to kick any can and to twist any initiative. So, you know, we all know here, you all know, and deep inside this mayor and council know as well, that the spirit of this resolution is to formalize and acknowledge the process and our commitment to Big Creek Park. No more, no less than that. Now, the twist of the process is attacking the process, is not correct with the process, and all these process excuse is just a simple excuse. I'm so sorry to say how it is. Because this resolution does not change any policy, does not say anything about initiating any master plan, does not say anything that we need to allocate money on the budget for this, and does not give any direction to the Recommission, neither our city staff. So this resolution, again, I'm going to say it again in plain English. The spirit of this resolution is to formalize and acknowledge the process and our commitment to the Big Creek Park. And again, Councilmember Palermo summarized really good this resolution, and he understood the spirit. I mean, we all understand the spirit here, but we don't want to acknowledge the spirit of this resolution, which is a different story. So, you know, I'm very disappointed that now he's using, you know, staff and the Recommission as an excuse to move forward a simple resolution that is just to acknowledge everything had been discussed through the town hall meeting and 2 committee meetings with my fellow council members and mayor. So, again, I didn't see it coming. I have to be honest with all of you, I didn't see this coming. I'm not surprised again. And, you know, I'm sorry that this political twist was brought in between elected officials responsible for the community and the community itself. Thank you.
I would like to say this. Councilmember Zapata is disingenuous in his statements. I requested that he take this to the Rec Commission, pull it off the agenda several days ago. He said he chose not to. So this is no surprise to Councilmember Zapata. This isn't an 11th hour twist, and I would appreciate having corrected that for the record.
For the record,
you have not been recognized, Councilmember Zapata. Having heard from all of the council members, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And that's Councilmember Judy, Councilmember Wilsey, Councilmember Grower, and Councilmember Tizer. All those opposed to the motion, please raise your hands. Councilmember Palermo and Councilmember Zapata. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the Community Development Department, and that is Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, thank you, Mayor Henry. Item number 7, conditional use, CU.
Please exit chambers quietly. We are conducting a meeting.
CU 2018-05571 for multifamily use located at 25 Hill Street. This item was deferred by the Planning Commission to their March 19th, 2019 meeting. Staff recommends deferral to the April 8th, 2019 Mayor and Council meeting. Before I make a motion, I do have a question for staff. And so basically, Ms. Dybel, it's my understanding that the applicant is the one that requested the deferral. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Excellent. Because what I do want to remind the community is that there was a time a few years ago when when a developer, they would request a deferral at 4:59 p.m. on a Monday, when you had a lot of people that would be ready here to speak, et cetera. And we did change that. There is more advance notice needing when a developer requests a deferral. So I do want to just clarify that this developer, it sounds like, did request a deferral with advance notice. And so for that reason, I motion to defer to the April 8th, 2019 Mayor and Council meeting.
We have a motion by Councilmember Palermo. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. And before I take a vote on this, it's a deferral. So is there anyone in the audience here to speak about this tonight that still wishes to be heard? Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 8, rezoning and conditional use request, RZ 2017-00966/CU 2017-01056. For townhomes and multifamily building on Jones Drive. This item was deferred by the Planning Commission to their March 19th, 2019 meeting. Staff recommends deferral to the April 8th, 2019 Mayor and Council meeting. Ms. Dybel, I have the same question on this item.
I'd actually like to indicate something. We got a second request for a deferral from the applicant at the end of last week for them to defer again from Planning Commission. Staff met with this applicant on Wednesday of last week, and due to that meeting, they have asked for a second deferral. So if you choose to defer tonight, you can choose to defer to the May meeting. Staff is indicating a request for deferral at the Planning Commission meeting. So then the Planning Commission will most likely defer this to their April 16th meeting, which then this would go straight to your May 13th council meeting.
And so to be clear, Ms. Dybel, the applicant had already requested a deferral in advance, and then last week they just asked to push that deferral date out?
That's correct.
In that case, I have a motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Palermo.
Motion to defer this item to the May 13th Mayor and Council meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Grover and Councilmember Wilsey. This is being deferred. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak tonight about this? We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 9, approval of a Metropolitan River Protection Act, MERPA, certificate, land lot 417 on Jones Drive. Staff recommends deferral to the April 8th, 2019 Mayor and Council meeting. Ms. Dybel, this item is related to item 8, is that correct?
Yes, this item is tied to the Jones Drive rezoning, and since the applicant just requested that second deferral, we would indicate that this should be deferred not to the April 8th meeting, but go ahead and defer this to the May 13th meeting, since they are tied together.
Motion to defer this item to the May 13th Mayor and Council meeting.
Motion by Councilmember Palermo. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Wilsey. This item is being deferred. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 10, request for a conditional use, CU 2018-05483 for a carriage house at 128 Woodstock Road. Ms. Dybel?
This is conditional use 2018-05843 located at 128 Woodstock. The applicant is requesting a conditional use for a carriage house. The carriage house will be 650 square feet. The maximum size in this zoning is 700 square feet, so the applicant is below the requested amount. He is not asking for any variances. He does have an extra parking space located on his driveway area for the parking space that's required. This is an aerial of the proposed location. He is located next to the Young Life Daycare Center and south of North Coleman Road. The property is zoned RS12. This is his proposed plan. He is showing the proposed guest house meeting all setback requirements. The area on where it says existing concrete driveway, if you go a little over there where it says material area, is where his proposed parking space is located for the third spot. So he has 2 spaces for a single family home and 1 space for his carriage house. Planning Commission and staff have recommended approval. Planning Commission recommended approval with the one condition that was requested by the Transportation Department to dedicate a continuous 5-foot wide traffic control equipment and maintenance easement on the property immediately outside the public right-of-way of North Coleman Road. as requested by RDOT. Staff has recommended approval with the same condition. Do you have any questions?
Councilmember Palermo.
I'd like either Ms. Dybel or Mr. Davidson to clarify for the community on the fact. I just basically want confirmation that someone building a carriage house, they have the ability to live on the property and rent a portion out, but they do not have the ability to rent out both portions separately. Is that clear?
That is correct.
Additional questions from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. Would you mind coming forward, please?
Hi, my name's Kevin Hobbs, and I'll be living in the carriage house and renting out the main unit. Let's see. So, did you have any questions about it, or the style of the carriage house will be conforming to the main house and also in character for the historic Roswell area. So the actual building is built in 1920, so it will have sort of a cottage charm to it. Also plan on doing some landscaping to, put a garden in the backyard as well. So.
Thank you, sir. Does the council have any questions for the applicant? Is there anyone, you can sit down, sir. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Bring it back to council. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve with the one added recommendation.
Motion by Councilmember Palermo. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 11, approval of the text amendment to the Unified Development Code regarding section 10.3.10, wall sign, number of signs. This is the first reading.
Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code by modifying section 10.3.10 wall sign. Now therefore the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend the Unified Development Code as follows. The mayor and council hereby amend the Unified Development Code by deleting section 10.3.10 wall sign, number of signs in its entirety, and replacing it with the following language, the text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this would be the first reading.
So currently in our code, we have something that states a maximum of one wall sign per individual establishment per public street frontage. A second wall sign is allowed on a side or rear wall if an individual establishment has a second public entrance on a side or rear wall. What we're looking to do is remove the second sentence to just allow a maximum of one wall sign per individual establishment per public street frontage, and a second wall sign is allowed on a side or rear wall to allow businesses to have two signs.
Does council have any questions for Ms. Dybel? Yes, Councilmember Palermo.
And so to be clear, an establishment with two public street frontages, they are not getting any additional signs, is that correct?
They actually could. If you had two street frontages and if you're on a corner, and if they had enough square footage, so they could have one on both street frontages if they had square footage left over, because our square footage portion is not changing. It's 1 square foot per linear foot of street frontage. So if you have 50 feet of street frontage, and you did a 20 square foot sign on one, a 20 square foot sign on the other, you would have 10 square feet left over, and if you wanted to do that on the side or rear, another side or rear, you could do a 10 square foot sign. So it's possible somebody could get 3.
So thank you for giving that clarification. I'd say in one of our earlier discussions, I feel that is different than what I'd expected. And so for that reason, I'd actually like to defer this to the next mayor and council meeting, just so I can better understand that impact. Because I am a very strong supporter of a business that just has a one wall sign, that they should have the right to have that extra, and I know it's burdensome from staff, so I very much support the intent of this. I just want to make sure I understand the impact for when they already have multiple additional public street frontage.
Additional comments from council? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So my question is, the total size of the signs won't change, right? You can, I mean, if you are allowed to, whatever.
If you have 100 square feet of signage, it's not going to change. So you can only get 100 square feet of signage.
Okay.
It's only going to change as to we can have another one on the side or rear wall.
Okay, but doesn't add up, it's just splitting however they want to get to the total allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Judy.
This is a first reading, right? So it could change between the first and the second?
Yes.
Additional comments from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do we have a motion?
So Mr. Judy brought up a good point that this is a first reading. What I believe I'm going to do is I will support approving the first reading, but I want to properly disclose with this mayor and council that I absolutely do want to spend some time with community development and just better make sure I better understand the impact. And my vote may change on this come the second reading, but currently I'm able to support the first reading.
So we've got a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 12, approval of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code by creating section 13.7.18 to establish how landmarks are designated. This is the first reading.
Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code by creating section 13.7.18 regarding the process for designating a landmark. Now therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend the Unified Development Code as follows. The mayor and council hereby amend the Unified Development Code by adding a new section 13.7.18. How is a landmark designation established? To read as follows, the text of which is incorporated herein by reference. Never approved. This would be the first reading.
This is a new section that's required by the state that we discussed with the state last year. This ordinance has been reviewed by the state last fall when we were discussing it and writing it up, and then it has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they have recommended approval. What we have in here is a section that talks about designation of the landmark. So is it an outstanding example? Is it a few remaining examples of past architectural style? Is it associated with an event or a person of historic cultural significance? Or it is a site of natural or aesthetic interest? What we've also done is made it a little bit stronger. So what in our requirements, and we put in a whole section here, description of the landmark, names of the owners of the landmark, a written explanation indicating the significance of the landmark, documentation which would include photos, and a recent survey of the property shall be submitted. So we have made it as strong as we can. We've gone through the process. Planning Commission has recommended approval, and staff does recommend approval of the first reading of this ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Steibel. Do council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve this first reading.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Palermo, second by Councilmember Grower. All those in favor, please raise your hands, and it passes unanimously.
Item number 13, approval of the initiation of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code regarding sections 4.35 and 5.37 and 6.3.2, townhouse and open space.
Thank you. This is the initiation of a text amendment for landscape open space in the townhouse building type. So what we have here in Article 4 is under the townhouse building type, we have a letter F under the lot dimensions. It talks about common open space. However, if you go to the common open space section in Article 11, it does not relate to Articles 4, 5, and 6, which I'll be dealing with this evening. So what we're doing is looking to change those sections. In Article 6, we don't even indicate landscaped open space requirement. So we're adding that. So what we're looking to do in this ordinance is to change letter F in Article 4, to change common open space to landscape open space, to change it in Article 5, and then to add it in Article 6. So that we'd actually have landscape open space requirements, since we currently do not. Staff recommends approval of the initiation of this text amendment.
Do we have any questions from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one come forward, do we have a motion?
Motion to initiate.
Motion to initiate by Councilmember Palermo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 14, approval of the initiation of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code, Section 10.3.6, regarding temporary sign/construction sign.
So what we're looking here is to change and add a couple things in the construction sign section. We have the sign, the square footage of the sign to be 32 square feet. We do not have a height. So we're looking to add 10 feet in height, which matches our real estate signage. And we're also looking to add letter G, construction fence wraps. We took a look at Sandy Springs and the city of Atlanta's ordinances, and if you look at number 4, for those of you who are at committee, I have managed to make that the same. It was, so we match everything, so that's 30%. So we've added this in here related to construction fence wraps. So this will be in the new ordinance when it goes through the process for initiation. Staff recommends approval.
Does council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the initiation.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Palermo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is Environmental and Public Works. Councilmember Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 15, approval of resolution for revised curbside yard waste collection route/schedule. Mr. Skowski.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is an item to improve service with our yard waste collection throughout the city. As many people know who have yard waste service and participate in the service, we have had issues with peak volumes, particularly early in the week on Mondays. And during our last competition of recompeting this, one of the suggestions from multiple vendors was to level the participation or the loading across the week. So this item will accomplish that, and it does it with two primary, I guess, subsets of improving customer service. The first way is to level the routes across the week to even out the loading of yard waste. So that's step one. And step two is a constraint that we put staff on the contractor in making proposed adjustments was to absolutely minimize the number of folks who had to move their yard waste collection day. And the result of their work and our work is the plan that's laid out in this item. And I'll be happy to go through that in more detail, but basically we have about 6,700 customers whose yard waste days would be changing. The primary customers that would be affected are the folks who have collection on Monday now, and historically that's been where we've had the most problems. Monday has 40% of the customers in the city being picked up, and oftentimes, particularly if there's any kind of storm, that simply can't be done, and it's a legacy issue from when the city did it themselves on Monday and used most of our forces to collect yard waste on Monday, and the rest of the week we spent picking up municipal trash. The contractor simply can't adapt to that and typically is unable to finish their routes on Monday when there's ever any kind of yard waste season. So with that, I'll be happy to address any questions, but those were the primary factors in leading to the proposed plan.
Are there any questions from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item number 15.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Grower. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 16, approval for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a vehicle lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc. and Budget Amendment 6044900-02-25-19 in the amount of $200,000. Mr. Skowski.
So this item we're really excited about. This will allow us to convert a significant portion of our fleet over time to a lease arrangement, which provides a number of benefits. Number one, in the short term, it provides some cash back to the general fund because we'd be converting over vehicles purchased in 2018 and 2019. It will also reduce our maintenance costs, especially over time, because we'll be working with a younger fleet. We project that this will allow us to reduce our average fleet age from about 9.5 years down to about 4.5 years, which is a significant improvement. That means our vehicles will be on the road more and in the shop less, and when they are being worked on, it'll be much more covered under initial warranty terms for routine work. With that, I'll be happy to address any questions, and I do want to note that over a 10-year period, the average annual savings of this works out to about $50,000 a year, and so we're excited about this. This is a year-to-year lease agreement, so if for any reason the city is not satisfied with the way this is working out, basically the parties can end that arrangement at any point in time. We think it's going to substantially free up our staff to do preventive maintenance, which we need to do more of, and also to work on our larger vehicles like the fire engines, like the garbage trucks that take extended periods of time to get back on the road. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Skowski? Yes, Councilmember Tizer.
I'd just like to commend you and your staff to take the average fleet down from 9.5 to 4 years. Will certainly be a tremendous operational lift. To have vehicles under warranty, especially our public safety vehicles, I think is a major plus, and so I'll be very supportive today.
Additional comments from council? Questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one come forward, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item number 16.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. I would like to note that Councilmember Zapata was not in attendance for this vote. We will take this over to Councilmember Grower, the Transportation Department.
Thank you, Mayor. This is item number 17, approval of a change order request by the National Park Service to the AECOM design and permitting of mitigation elements for the proposed bridge that crosses Vickery Creek in the amount of $346,470. Staff has requested a deferral of this item, so I'd like to make a motion to defer.
So motion to defer by Councilmember Grower. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. This is a deferral. If there's anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak, we can hear you now. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And this also passes unanimously. Councilmember Zapata is not in attendance for this vote as well. The next item on the agenda is our City Administrator's Report. Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I added this item to the agenda because I intended on pulling the trigger on the emergency purchase for the infrastructure. So I wanted to have an opportunity to just explain and get some feedback. I'm not asking for any action, but we have this on committee for tomorrow. So I would just recommend we just continue that conversation tomorrow. So I'm not looking for anything tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. So that does not need any action. The next item is the City Attorney's Report. Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. That actually the only item I have, because I don't have a recommendation for closure tonight. The only item I have is a lease amendment with T-Mobile South on the high tower water tank. With this lease agreement, they would be paying $3,845.12 per month, or $46,000 approximately per year. It would be for 5 years with 3 additional terms. Recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. Does council have any questions? Seeing no hands up, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Grower. All those in favor, please raise your hands. It passes unanimously, and Councilmember Zapata is not in attendance for that vote. We are adjourned.